Hey everyone out there. So we are here live and we are going to be joined by Gerald Price Jr. and he is so-called the AKA Real Estate G. So while we wait for him to come in, I want to build in any I want anybody out there who has any questions. By all means, let me know. I put them in the comments, and we can kind of go from there. So, Peter, Mike, my brother, how you doing? Good, good. So, put some comments out there. Check it out. Check us out. And so, while we wait for him, all right, he should be here any minute. Uh, we are streamed to Facebook, my Facebook group, okay, Metro Detroit Off Market Real Estate Group. We are also streaming to my YouTube channel, Randy Steadwell in YouTube. Uh, Come check us out. If you're not subscribed, you need to be, uh, and kind of go from there. So I'm joining from my Facebook so I can read the comments as they come in and see who all's in here. So anybody who has any questions, I will say, so there's good news for me is I'm closing on a deal this week. Thank God. That's been a long time coming. I'm closing on a deal this week that is the seller. They are just happy to be out of the house. They get rid of the burden from them, and I'm flipping it to, or we're selling it to a flipper who's gonna make this house right. I will say that. So, um, yeah, thanks, Mike. Thanks. So I'm happy that it'll get us some revenue coming, but that's only one of three deals that I'm closing this month. So we closed one last week on Thursday with my boy Khalif. So I JV'd with him. This one that we're closing to hopefully tomorrow is with I'm JVing it with Matt Lee. So shout out to him for finding. He found the seller. He brought it to me. We got it under contract, and I brought the buyer. So anybody who wants to do some JV deals, hit me up, call me, email me, and we can do some deals. So we have a lot of. I've been dealing a lot with a lot of wholesalers that are not really comping right. So this is actually the first thing because of how interest rates are right now. Don't take your comps more than uh, don't take your comps more than 3 months old. Okay, because that is old data. If it's past 3 months old, it's old data, and you you're gonna end up trying to get it locked up you're gonna get it locked up way too high, and you won't be able to sell it. So keep that in mind. I've been getting a lot of wholesalers that have been, oh yeah, we got comps at this, we got comps at this. Well, how old are those comps? Oh, they sold 9 months ago. Oh, they sold 6 months ago. It's not going to work. Okay. Because there's a huge difference from 6 months ago and 9 months ago to where the interest rates are at right now. So buyers are adjusting for those. Before, you can sell a house at 80%, 80% ARV minus repairs. And now you're probably looking at like 65%, maybe 70, depending on the area, but anywhere from 60 to 65% on that. There's no quick number or anything like that. And keep in mind, just, we have to be very conservative with the numbers. So it's kind of a long intro, and I apologize for this, but we are live. He said Gerald will be here in a few minutes. He just texted me. So we will get things going. And let's see how many people. We only have a few people watching at the moment, but um, you know, the basic thing that we need to get through is that we're not here to convince anyone to sell their house to us. We're here to solve problems. As a wholesaler, we're here to solve problems for people. So if they're in a situation where they're back taxes or anything like that, uh, so yeah, you must be fine. And like, if they're back taxes or anything like that, we're able to come up with different situations to get them out of that. We provide options. So as a wholesaler, we do provide options, and I'm here to give those options to them and say, hey, here's option A, B, C, D, E. Half of those options may not be with me. So, and in that case, we still have to give them those options to say, hey, those might not be the right, those might be the right best ones for you. Um, but we got to let them make that decision and go from there. So I'm happy to bring everybody in here, and I'm happy to provide value to the channel. So I want people posting questions as much as possible. If you're watching this on the replay, okay, if you're watching this replay, comment down below. I'll answer the questions right after, by all means. So let me know, and we'll come in there that way. So now, uh, and I do apologize for him being here a little bit late. The good thing about him is he's last minute. He was able to join, and I appreciate it. I really do. I appreciate him all the time. I just actually met this gentleman, and I'm happy to have him. So he's actually here now. I'm going to add him here. Mr. Gerald Price, how you doing today?
What's going on, Randy? What's going on, my friend?
Oh, not much, man. So, first off, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on here, and especially at a last minute notice. I, Mark is actually the guy who introduced us and introduced through a group text. So I'm very thankful to him for that, and so I just wanted to. I was going over a few different things and how the market has changed over these past 6 to 9 months.
Sure.
Uh, so and Mike, yes, he can see the chat, I believe. So all right, so you can see the chat, right?
It
Well,
says private. Okay, comments.
yep,
Okay,
yep.
yep,
So awesome.
we're good.
So we're all good there. Anyways, so with that, they're going to ask questions here and there, and off to the side, but we are. I want to tell my audience a little bit about. I know we talked a little bit before here, so but tell my audience a little bit about you. First off, how you got started in real estate, what you're doing now, things like that. So we'll start from the beginning first.
So
So how'd you
the origin of Gerald Price Jr. Sure.
the origin?
Yes. Originally from L.A., Los Angeles, California. Um, Went to college in Providence, Rhode Island, at Johnson and Wales University. Studied business, and after graduation, I got into financial services and worked in investments, and ultimately became a credit counselor, housing counselor, um, bankruptcy counselor, reverse mortgage counselor. And so back in 2008, I know a lot of us can remember what was going on then. I started noticing a bunch of people come into my office behind on their mortgage. And I had a couple of clients basically tell me that they was ready to just walk away from the house. And it just seemed like an opportunity to me. And so I decided to start learning more about real estate. And so I picked up a book, How to Invest in Real Estate with No Cash or Credit, and actually went to Borders, like walked into a bookstore,
Yeah.
picked up a book, and I grabbed the title because it resonated with where I was at, college student debt, paycheck to paycheck, that type of thing.
Hmm.
And started reading it, learned about wholesaling, and it was different then because we didn't have Google, we didn't have YouTube. You
Hmm.
know, I came across like a set of Carlton Sheet CDs, and then I attended a 3-day event with Russ Whitney, and it just expanded my understanding of real estate and what was possible. And the one thing that I took from the 3-day event was find a local real estate association group, and so that's what I did. Long story short, found some local investors, signed up with them to teach me kind of how to basically market for deals,
Hmm.
and it was a situation where they asked me questions. Hey man, you have bandit signs? And I was like, no. And then I just say, well, I guess I need bandit signs. You got a dedicated number? I guess I need a dedicated number. And
Right.
a week after I started putting up bandit signs, me and my colleague, um, we started getting phone calls. Long story short, we had a property under contract with $100 earnest money deposit, and within 45 days, we ended up wholesaling it, and we made $28,000. And for me, that was a life-changing event because at the time I was making 24,000 a year, and I literally
Wow.
made more in a matter of less than 2 months with about 8 hours
Yeah.
worth of work.
Okay.
And it just changed my life. And what happened after that was the housing market fell apart.
Yeah.
But I actually had a unique set of skills, right? A certified housing counselor, and I started seeing all these people behind on their mortgage, and I said to myself, I know how to help these people, and so I
Hmm.
pivoted and I started a loss mitigation company. And so
Okay.
through 2008 to about 2012, I did a bunch of short sales, a bunch of loan modifications, and I figured out a bunch of strategies on how to structure creative deals subject to lease
Hmm.
options and all kind of stuff.
Now, now,
Yeah,
now you just dropped like about five bombs right there
yeah,
that you just like, just slide over.
yeah.
And each one of those right there is is its own set of skills. A subject to, a lease option, like all of it. So like, how did you learn all of that? Did you
Okay,
take a course?
of
Did
course. Yeah.
you?
So my secret sauce is anytime I want to do something, I set the goal, then I find somebody that's doing it, and I
Hmm.
pay them to teach me how to do it, so I don't have to figure it out.
Right. Right.
You know, and I'm very studious. I'm very coachable.
Hmm.
If I trust that you know what you're doing, I don't question you unless I'm trying to understand something.
Right.
You know, and then I just connect the dots. I trial and error, and I'm very flexible. It's almost like a science project. I
Hmm.
get the feedback, and I don't make it mean anything. I just want to understand. Okay, I did this. That was the result. I did this. That was the
Right.
result.
Right.
And then you just do what works.
Okay. Yeah. So, with that being said, like, what gave you the motivation to do that? Was it that first paycheck of the $24,000,
Oh,
or?
the first paycheck, man. Like I said, so I went to college to learn how to make money with money because my dad worked very hard. My dad's a Marine, ex-Marine,
Hmm.
and he was always at work growing up, and we struggled.
Yep.
And so you couldn't tell me that hard work was the answer,
Yeah.
because my dad worked very hard, and my mother, she was a pastor and a woman, strong woman of faith, and she always encouraged me to kind of go out and be entrepreneurial and kind of do stuff positive. If I
Yep.
needed to make some money, go out and make some money, just stay out of trouble.
Yeah.
And so she kind of planted that entrepreneur seed in me, and I got my work ethic from my dad. And the one thing my dad always told me is he's like, um, never be afraid to try something new.
Yeah.
You know, and he always said if you can take something apart, you can put it back together.
Yep.
And so for me, that's kind of how I look at everything. I pay attention as I'm doing it. So when you can start to see how things work, it just starts coming together. And so when I went to school, um, growing up, I had the fortune of going to school in a different community, a more exclusive community.
Okay.
And a lot of my friends' parents were well off.
Yeah.
And when I would see what their parents did, I was just like, they're not more talented than my parents. They're just doing
No.
something slightly different. They're business owners. And
Yeah.
so that kind of, nurtured that entrepreneur seed. And so when I went to school, that's why I studied accounting and investments
Hmm.
and finance, because I really wanted to understand money.
So you went to school for accounting and finance. Did your first deal have anything to do with accounting and finance? Did you have to go to school in order to learn that?
So what I got out of school, man, was I learned how to network and I
Hmm.
learned how to learn. And
Okay.
I studied investments. And the thing about investments, most people make the mistake, they think it's about math.
Yeah.
Even with accounting, they think it's about math, and it's not. It's really about formulas and it's
Hmm.
about strategy.
Yep.
So as an investor, like I'm an investor,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just focus primarily on real estate investments, but I
Hmm.
also use those same skills to invest in businesses and also
Okay.
in the market. I
Okay.
trade and all of that. So for me, wholesaling was a strategy that I could implement based on my situation.
Okay.
And now I relate to wholesaling as just one funding strategy.
Yes.
And so when I talk about real estate to my students, is four phases. Is find, fund, fix, and flip.
Hmm.
And the finding is all marketing. Like with any business, it
Yeah.
starts with marketing, generate lead generation. You
Now,
know,
now you said find, fund, fix, and flip.
yeah.
Is there a buy and hold in there as well?
Well, that's in the fix and flip process. So the fix
Gotcha.
and
Okay.
flip is whatever your exit or your exit strategy or your
Yeah.
monetization strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
interchangeable part.
So you can take that fix and flip. You can put it as a fix and hold,
Right.
and or fix and refinance.
Right.
For that bird strategy.
Exactly.
Things like that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It could be house
So
hack. It could
yeah.
be Airbnb.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Whatever strategy you decide.
Whatever the exit.
Because there's umpteen different strategies you can do. You can fix and flip, buy a whole burr, you know, literally buy it and just rent it right out.
Yep.
As long as it cash flows, it doesn't matter.
And
You
even
know,
even with like the short-term rental model, right? The
yeah,
Airbnb, you could do independent living, you could do
yep,
special needs housing, you could do nowadays there's a lot of content creators.
yep.
It's so many different strategies that you can implement, and a
You
lot
can
of
do
them
what
have the same fundamentals.
Yeah, there's a sober living
Yep.
assistance, senior living assistance.
Veterans
There's
housing.
veterans housing, regular Section 8,
Yep.
which is, that's what landlords love, regular Section 8 and veterans housing because the government pays them.
Yep. Yep.
So in that downtime when we had COVID, guess who was still getting paid?
Oh yeah.
you know,
Like clockwork.
so
Like clockwork.
yes, yep. So now going in, so you started off, you found real estate with wholesaling, is that right?
Yeah, so my first deal was a wholesale deal, but I didn't like nowadays people identify
Hmm.
as wholesalers.
Right.
I've always been an investor.
Gotcha.
And if I wholesale is I'm just using the wholesaler's exit as my
Yep.
funding strategy. I relate to wholesaling like joint ventures.
Yep.
For me, a wholesale is a joint venture. So when you look
Hmm.
at my portfolio of deals, um, if I wholesaled you a deal, I would
Hmm.
have the before pictures, and then
Hmm.
when you finished it, I would go and get the after pictures,
Yeah.
and that would be a flip that I did in my
Mm.
portfolio, and I just got my cut on the front end.
Right.
So
Okay. That's a
when
good
you
way to think of
so
it.
when you're getting started, right, and you're trying to make that transition from wholesaling to fixing and flipping, a
Yep.
lot of investors or lenders, they're gonna want to see your track record or your
Hmm.
history, right? And a lot of ways they do that is they verify the HUD. And
Hmm.
so if you have an address and you was on the HUD and you made money and you have the befores and afters,
Hmm.
then you could legitimately say you did that deal.
Okay.
And as a wholesaler, I do my scopes of work. So I'm the first
Hmm.
person in the door. So I'm going to
Yeah.
assess what needs to be done,
Yep.
and um early on, I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Merrill, but I actually met Dan uh like right after me and my partner did that first deal. And so
Hmm.
we invested in his system of real estate. And
Okay.
so the way I learned real estate was as a business. And
Gotcha.
ultimately now it's known as Fortune Builders, and it's
Hmm.
a huge network of investors, all over the
Hmm.
country. But that's how I got started. So for me, everything is systematic. The business is all
Right.
systematic, and that was just the mindset. And so that's how I approach it.
Okay.
You build your business, you build your brand.
Yeah.
One thing that I learned from Dan was leverage everything.
Hmm.
It's not just OPM. It's other people's money, other people's experience, other people's resources.
Yes.
And the way I do it now is through collaboration, joint venture. So
Okay.
I don't look at other investors as competition. They're
No.
potential JV partners, they're potential buyers for my buyers list. I'm potential buyers for their buyers list. And
Yep.
it's win 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 is my philosophy.
No, I totally agree with you. I was actually just talking to another wholesaler today that I'm like, hey, there's enough deals for us all. If we can help each other out, more power to you, you
Yeah.
know? And that's kind of where there's enough deals out there for everybody. But what's going to hurt this business is when you try to get it locked up way too high then and you can't sell it. Now you go give investors a bad name, not just wholesalers but investors in general.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's
Now
that's because
yeah.
the art of wholesaling, um, there's not enough training around how to evaluate the numbers,
Right.
how to negotiate the deal. So they give you the big picture, the structure of a wholesale,
Mm-hmm.
put the house under contract, and
Mm-hmm.
then market it to your buyers.
Right.
And for me, because of the way I was taught the business,
Mm-hmm.
um, when I'm looking at real estate, I know that you position yourself to make money when you buy, and
Mm-hmm.
so getting it at the right price is important. And
Yep.
what's more important than the house is the motivation of the seller.
Oh, 100%.
And because I was a housing counselor, anytime I talk to sellers, I always have my housing counselor hat on first because I want to understand what's
Mm-hmm.
going on, you know, um, and that's going to help me structure the deal, whether it's a cash offer or some form of creative deal structure.
Right.
you know?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was actually I was talking about this just before you got on,
Mhm.
that if you go through, we're not here to convince people to sell us their house.
Right.
We're here to solve problems.
Right.
We have to find that problem. Sometimes they're not forthcoming in what that problem is. That's about relationship building.
Right.
Okay. But we're here to give them options: A, B, C, D, E. Half those options may not be with me. Okay. But give them all the options and say, give them the pros and cons for each one. You know?
Yeah, it's being transparent,
Mm-hmm.
is building trust, it's all
Yes.
of those things. And it's really, when I understand a person's motivation, I'm really thinking about them first. So for example, if I
Mm-hmm.
walk into a property and they need a larger number and the house is in good shape,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask them if they've talked to an agent,
Oh yeah.
you know.
100%.
And a lot of people try to shy away from that because they have a fear that if they
Yeah.
mention the agent, then they're going to go and lose the deal. And it's like, no, you want to know whether or not they talk to an agent or not, because if it comes out at the end and you haven't closed the deal, then you're going to lose trust.
Mm-hmm.
There's always people outside looking in, and
Yep.
it could be their buddy, their neighbor. Hey, have you talked to an agent? Oh, I could get you
Yeah.
X for your house. And then now they're upset with you.
Yep.
And so I always make sure I mention certain things, because at the very least we can say we had the conversation.
Correct. Yeah.
And then you'll find out more about their motivation. No, I don't want to list it with an agent because I don't want a bunch of people tracking through my house. Or
Right.
they might be embarrassed or something, or they had a bad experience, or they used to be an agent, and it's so many different scenarios that goes on. But I
Yep.
like to what I call, point out the elephants in the room,
Mm-hmm.
get them on the table. So I'm always telling the sellers, hey, I'm a real estate investor, so obviously, it's important that I make a profit. You know,
Yep.
with that said, I'm more in this to create a win-win-win situation. How much of a profit is not important to me. I'm
Yep.
really here to have us complete this transaction, and everybody walk away, satisfied with the transaction.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make you two types of offers. I'm going to make
Mm-hmm.
you a cash offer, and that's based on my risk and a formula that most investors
Yep.
use. And based on your needs, if I can structure the deal different, then I will. And I'll
Mm-hmm.
leave it at that.
Yep. Like I had this one deal that I'm closing on tomorrow. I gave the seller options.
Yeah.
And I said, you could probably get a little bit more if you go through a realtor and put it on the market, but you're going to have to do X, Y, Z.
Right.
Okay. Um, Now, I don't think this will pass an inspection, so you're going to have to pay for a lot of that stuff, things like that. Obviously, this was more in disrepair, so that was kind of like out of the question. So I told him, I said, you want this number, okay? And you want, we'll call it 200 grand,
Yep.
okay? Just for simple numbers, okay? You want this number. I can't pay this number, okay? But what I do is, I told you I always upfront with honest with them. I said I have three strategies. We fix and flip, and I start off with that because everybody knows what fix and flip is. Everybody
Right.
knows what HGTV is.
Right.
So we fix and flip, we fix them up, and then we hold them. So fix them up and rent them.
Yep.
And then our last strategy is, just in case it may not be right for us, the timing may be off, whatever the case may be. I work with a bunch of other investors that I may pass it along to, but rest assured, whatever me and you agree on is exactly what you're going to get.
Right.
And you'll be dealing with me the whole time.
I like that.
Okay. So that's something that I've come up with. And to me, they're like, as long as I get what I want, I don't care.
Are you familiar with the term novation?
Yes.
So,
I haven't done one. I haven't done one, but I'm familiar with that term. Yes.
so I've done a few of them before I learned the term, right? Because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, I'm a problem solver, and
Correct. Yep.
I had an agent friend of mine at the RIA call up one of my students, and we were trying to put the deal together, and it was one of those deals where it was almost a deal, the numbers almost worked, and I'm like, well, if we didn't have to close on this deal,
Mm-hmm.
we could rehab it and sell it retail, if
Mm-hmm.
the seller was willing to work with us. And because
Right.
we had a relationship with the seller's agent, we were able to pitch
Mm-hmm.
the structure, and
Okay.
she needed a little bit of money to move out. We ended up renovating the property and secured our renovation cost to the property as a second lien,
Okay.
and got in there, got out of there, and it worked. She was
Mm-hmm.
satisfied, we were happy, and it all worked. And then, through research and studying, I hear about this term novation, and I'm like, that's what is that? And
Yeah.
then when I see the mechanics of it, I'm like, oh, I've done that before. But
That's awesome.
that's something to really start to understand, man, because that strategy is definitely a good tool to have in your tool belt
Mm-hmm.
for the deals where the numbers don't necessarily make sense,
Yep.
and you have a little bit of capital to front, the rehab or add some
Mm-hmm.
value to the property. And with the housing market being the way it is now, um, there's a lot of what I call shadow inventory out there,
Mm-hmm.
meaning a lot of people that were impacted by COVID and they decided to do a forbearance. And because
Yep.
of the nature of the market, it's not a scenario where it's going to be a short sale. It's actually a situation where they may have equity.
Right.
And so they might just not have the income to reinstate the loan,
Mm-hmm.
or, may just want to sell for whatever reason. And so, novation, I can see how that would work in this situation.
Right. And that will be, that's awesome. I've never done one. I'd love to do one just to, to be able to run through the process and things like that. So, um, now kind of moving on a little bit because we talked about wholesaling, we talked about, a few different strategies. Where are you now? What are you doing now, in your investing career, not
Sure,
just in real estate? Yeah.
sure. So um, prior to COVID, I was really launching my flipping, fixing and flipping business. I had
Mm-hmm.
eight flips going on in three different states, and
Okay.
then things shut down with COVID, and I had to pivot. And
Mm-hmm.
so I've been following Grant Cardone for a little bit of time. I actually met him at the entrepreneurship conference a few years back.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I started reading his books, and when COVID shut down, I was really watching a few different people and seeing how they was handling the climate and things. And Grant said one thing about multifamily that I hadn't heard before. He said it's like buying income.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, when I looked at my business, that was the gap. I had a bunch of deals, the numbers were solid, but I didn't have any income.
Mm-hmm.
And because of the delays, my timeline was blown. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I went to try to refinance my deals, I actually had one deal. We just finished the flip. We were looking to refinance and hold it. And the bank said they're not going to lend the money because of COVID, and it's too risky. And they backed out. So now I'm stuck in a hard money loan. And, I looked at my partner and I really just got frustrated. And I said, you know what? Screw this. I'm just going to start my own fund,
Mm-hmm.
and didn't have any understanding of what it took to do that. I just knew that I had deals, and I knew that
Mm-hmm.
when I was talking to the hard money lenders and other lenders that I knew, they didn't say no to me. What they did was increase the rates, and reduce the loan amount. And so it wouldn't have worked for me. And I just realized that I did a lot of the work in finding the off-market deal,
Yep.
putting up money, skin in the game, managing the rehab. I'm doing all the heavy lifting, and the lender, they just write a check and then they pick up a check. And so I said, I want to do that, right? So
Work harder, not or work smarter, not harder.
right. So I ended up joining a mastermind group, Investment Fund Secrets, Bridger Pennington. He's my mentor in the fund space. And then I started pursuing multifamily apartments. And so within 6 months of making that decision, spent a little money, flew out to Miami, did some training with Grant Cardone, and started doing some lead gen around multifamily, started underwriting some multifamilies, and I ended up picking up a 176 unit apartment complex in Tucson, Arizona. And that was my first syndication, raised $5.5 million, $18.9 million purchase, all with less than about $5,000 out of pocket.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
that's impressive. That's impressive.
Yeah. So for me, it's because, when I got started, it was with no cash, no credit, no experience. And so I always had a confidence because I understood the mechanics. And just like you would secure a contract, I needed to come up with $50,000 to secure the contract. And back then, my thought process was, Grant has Cardone Capital. They have over, at that time, it was like 780 million. He buys bigger apartments. And so all of that, the proximity of him gave me the confidence to pursue it. Because in my back of my mind, I'm like, if I can pitch him the deal, maybe he'll partner with me and so on and so forth.
Yep.
Didn't happen that way. So
never happens that way.
Yeah. And so I said, you know what, let me at least secure the contract, because I don't want to come to him with just the address in my handout. I want to come with, like at least a little bit of posture and something, an equitable interest. Right.
Yep.
And I got so much help from his team. They underwrote the deal. They gave me some encouraging words on the numbers, kind of verified some things. Underwriting and doing the due diligence on apartment buildings is not the same as single family houses. But I'm a student to real estate, and maybe 10 years ago, I flew out to Charlotte and I did a boot camp on how to underwrite apartments. And so a lot of that stuff came back. I had Grant's book on buying apartments on my bookshelf. I hadn't read it up until that point because I didn't really need to, because I wasn't buying commercial. But I read the book a few times, and then I really locked in on how to run the numbers.
Yeah.
Because the fundamentals of structuring deals and underwriting deals is very much the same across the board. There's just more things in the due diligence process with the bigger properties.
Right.
And the long story short of it is, Grant said something that's not just true for multifamily, it's true in general. Like, real estate is a team sport. And when it comes to closing bigger deals, it's not, it is a little bit more work, but it's not too much more work. And it's expected to have partners, and it just so happens they're called LPs, right? And you want to be the general partner if you can, and typically that requires some experience. But for me, if you don't have the experience, you leverage the experience. And so what I did was, when I was talking to my broker, I just went down, and this is just my style. When I'm pursuing anything, I want to know what's required. So I don't make any judgments on whether I'm qualified or not. Let me know what's necessary, almost like a checklist, right?
Yeah.
And then I want to know, what are the rules? Like, is that something I'm going to need, or
Mm-hmm.
can I bring a team member, a partner? Like, can I collaborate and bring that to the table to get it
Yeah.
done? So can we do this?
Right.
You know, and the long story short of it is when I've done a number of deals, I've owned a number of properties, but never an apartment building. So
Right.
I didn't meet the qualifications for a background in that. So I called my agent and I said, "Hey, call the seller
Mm-hmm.
and see if one of the general partners of the selling party would be interested in partnering with me for say 20-25% equity in my deal,
Mm-hmm. Right.
contingent upon them essentially. Now I know it to be a sponsor, but I was just have them partner with me and bring the credentials. And that's what they did. The guy said yes,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just got a master class from him. We're on Zoom meetings, and my goal at that point was really just to raise money. That's what he needed me to do is hey, we got to raise this amount of money. When you're syndicating, there's a lot of paperwork that's needed. The legal docs aren't cheap,
Mm-hmm.
roughly $25,000 to $35,000
Mm-hmm.
to do the proper filing. It can be a little less expensive, but it's all relationship and
Oh yeah.
But at the end of the day, he handled most of that and kind of pointed things out for me,
Mm-hmm.
and we got it done.
Yep.
And that was a 6-month process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's typical. Now, this wasn't an on-market deal. How did you find that deal?
So over the years, I've amassed a huge network of investors
Mm-hmm.
and realtors, and so I just reached out to a bunch of realtors and brokers and said, "Hey, I'm looking for 25 units and above. You come across
Mm-hmm.
something, let me know." And in the
Okay.
multifamily space, that's typically how you find deals.
Yeah.
Brokers, a lot of brokers in that
Yep.
space. You want to build those relationships.
Now, for me, I'm trying to so I can comp a single family, I can comp a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex all day long.
Yep,
Okay. I may even be able to do 5 to 8 unit. Okay, no problem. But once you get into the higher numbers with the multifamily, like for me, I still have a lot to learn on that aspect. I want to eventually uh, do either a JV deal with
sure,
that, where somebody else puts up the money. I'll run the project. I'll find the deal. I'll run the project. You
sure.
know, so and do
So,
something like
so
that.
can I offer you something?
Always.
Yeah, give up the idea that you have a lot to learn.
Okay.
I've been doing this for 14 and a half years, and I still have a lot to learn. So it's all
Yeah.
relative. Like,
Yeah.
you have the ability to learn. And so as long as you have the ability to learn, that's just par for the course, right?
Yeah. Most definitely.
For me, um, when I was rereading Grant's book,
Mm-hmm.
he had this diagram of how to underwrite deals on a napkin, made it simple.
Okay.
What you need to understand about commercial real estate is there's a
Uh-huh.
few different ways to evaluate the deal, but the most common is based on cap rate.
Right.
Now, what you need to understand about cap rate is that number is going to vary depending on the class of the asset.
Okay.
And when I say class of the asset, I mean the location.
Mm-hmm.
So Grant, when he buys apartments, he's an A class buyer. That's
Yes.
his type of deal. He doesn't look
Yep.
for nothing else. He
Mm-hmm.
wants A class, so it's all location, 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 location. He wants high,
100%.
high, high, high value assets. The thing about A class assets is the cap rate tends to be a lot lower. So when I
Mm-hmm.
say lower, I'm thinking 3-4%,
Yeah.
depending on the
Yeah.
market, right?
And you can't really add value at that point, you
You
know?
can, you can. Um, when you're looking at commercial real estate, The add value is one of the most important parts.
Yeah.
But there's a series of different ways that you add value, and it really always comes down to the management and your
Hmm.
ability to increase the rents.
Yep.
And so I forget the term that you look for, but it's um, basically, I'll describe what it is. So when you look at there's two things you request when you're dealing with commercial real estate:
Hmm.
the OM, which is the offering memorandum,
Okay.
and the T12, which is the trailing 12 months of rent roll.
Hmm.
Okay, so those are the two documents you need. On the in the T12 or the operating memorandum, there's gonna be what the market rents are
Hmm.
and what the current rents are.
Okay.
I think they call it the lost rents or something like that.
Hmm.
But typically, it's the difference between what they're getting for rent and what they could be getting for rent.
Right. Right.
Now, you want the lost rents, I think that's what it's called. You want that to be at least 10% or 20%.
Okay.
So that means that you
Interesting.
have the ability to raise the
Yeah.
rent, and
Yeah.
and that's where you're adding the value. So that's one of the things you look for. The other thing you need to know about commercial real estate is when you're doing what is called CapEx or capital improvements or renovations. That's
Okay.
when you're doing that, um, the purpose is to increase the not so much the value of the property,
Yep.
but what you can get for the property and increase the maintenance and upkeep essentially, if that makes any
Hmm.
sense.
No, 100%. Yeah.
So it's not like a single family where you put the new kitchen and bath and it adds value. With
Yep.
multi, you put the new kitchen and bath. Now you can charge more for the rent,
Hmm.
which adds the value.
Yep.
So outside of that, you're looking at where you can be more efficient on different rents. Like you can add what's called a RUBS account. I don't
Hmm.
remember what the acronym stands for, but basically it's where if they weren't charging the tenants like water, sewer, electric, all that stuff,
Yeah.
you can add that and kind of recapture some of the utility expenses. That's one of
Yep.
the places that um, you can add value and understand.
Hmm.
I'm not exact with what I'm saying. I just have a concept of what I'm looking for. So you
Right.
don't got to be perfect, and
Yeah.
what I do, I have a team of people that are better at this than me, and I just compile the data and I get it to them, and they kind of go over it. And
Yep. And that's the good thing about networking right there. Actually, right now, I'm going to tell you this. We're a component of it right now.
yeah,
Okay. I did not know you before 5 o'clock today.
right,
Okay. I didn't even know you existed.
right,
So I reached out to a few people and, and he put me in touch with you,
right.
you know? And so the fact that you can do that by networking and by putting yourself out there, telling people what you're doing every day. Okay. Hey, I'm in real estate. This is what I'm doing. They may have a cousin or somebody that they're working with or whatever that may need you. Who knows? That's selling their house, or you never know. You never know who knows people. Okay.
Yep,
So with that, it's 100% on that. Like when I come when I come across a multifamily, the biggest problem I have with some of the multifamily is like I can look at an apartment if I'm going in the suburbs of Detroit. Okay, I mean definitely it's a deal, 100%. But when I go inside Detroit and it's an apartment, huge risk.
right.
You know, huge risk.
But when you
So
say when you say huge risk,
mhm.
where's the risk?
The risk is in squatters, in people not paying the rent and you have to evict them. So loss of time.
Yep.
Okay. And we all know time is money. And them trashing the place. So what you have to
Yeah.
put into it.
So
So,
that's the class
mhm,
of the environment. Like, location, location, location. So the higher end locations, they're A class. Little less than that is B class. Middle of
yeah,
the road is C class. D class is the danger zone. You know,
yep,
and there's a lot of money in D class neighborhoods.
yep,
However, you need to put together the right team to be able to manage that, because what they
yes,
don't tell you is how you truly make money in real estate is by how effective you are at managing the process.
mm-hmm,
You know,
yep,
if you go and fix and flip, and you mismanage that rehab process, you don't have the right contracts when with the contractor, you're not keeping them on point, you're not staying on budget,
yep,
you will lose money.
100%.
Even when you're looking to wholesale the deal and your disposition process is a little shaky, you
Mm-hmm,
know, you're not clear with your title company on the strategy, and you've never, all these things matter.
yes,
And so how effective you are at the business management part, it relates to how effective you will be overall.
mm-hmm,
And to your point about the networking part, that's one of the foundations of how I find off market deals. It's all
mm-hmm,
relationship based, and it goes back to branding.
yes,
I'm branded in my community as a real estate investor.
yep,
You know, and so for me, I don't want you to predetermine why you want to call me. People call me for all types of real estate issues and financial issues, and
mm-hmm,
and all of the above. And it gives me an opportunity, and this is why I study so much, because I want to know a lot about a little.
yes,
That way I can point them in the right direction, and I leverage my network. And
yep,
so because of that, I actually have some deals in the Detroit market, and after we finish this, I love to go over them, man, and see if we
100%.
can't make some bread, and make some
Yep,
money in real life, you know.
yep.
And
So,
that's and it's more than enough to go around. You gotta
yeah,
really operate in abundance, you know.
yep. Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on that. And real quick, if anybody out there is listening and you have questions for Gerald, for myself on anything real estate related, put them in the comments. We'd love to hear them. We'll answer them right here, right here live. Any comment you have about real estate, I can't help you find a girlfriend. That's all. So, but real estate related, we're good. So,
Hey man, I
um,
can I can help you find a girlfriend. And
that's
it's real estate
awesome.
related. It's real estate related, you
That's
know.
awesome.
The
So,
key the
Larry,
key is
yeah,
look.
wow.
Look and make offers.
Yes, look and make offers. So actually, Larry Shepard here, he's on my Facebook group, and I'm putting it up here on the screen here,
Yep.
and it's saying he's an out-of-state investor. I have 3 properties in state. What's your biggest advice for out-of-state investors? And you know what? I'll answer this first real quick. My biggest advice is build a team that knows what they're doing in that location. So if that location is Detroit, okay, build a team in Detroit that knows what they're doing. Your property management, your maintenance team, and somebody to look over everybody. Okay, and that person to look over everybody doesn't have to be physically there. They just have to know the area and know what to do. So they can come into town every once in a while, but they're at least keeping up with everybody, whether it be through email, phone, or anything like that. So that's my opinion. What about you, Gerald?
So I have some questions, and so I'll just start with a general answer.
Yep.
He says he owns 3 properties in 3 states. So my question is, what's the goal for the property? Are they rental properties? Are they vacation homes? You know,
Mm-hmm.
do you own them free and clear? Do you have mortgages? Like all of that stuff
Yeah.
matters because, you know, you could lease option them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you could seller finance them. You can, use Airbnb or independent living, or there's a number of different ways that you can use it. And like Randy was saying, it's really gonna, um, it's gonna, you're gonna need a team to execute
Yes.
the plan, you
Yep.
know, which is not difficult. Um, Generally speaking, when people get started with real estate, they kind of shy away from real estate agents or realtors.
Mm-hmm.
Realtors are one of my secret weapons for doing out of state investing. You just have to find the right ones. You want to find a hungry new real estate agent that's willing to learn, or you
Mm-hmm.
want to find a very experienced and well connected realtor or broker and leverage that.
Okay.
And then just remember, at the end of the day, win, win, win. You really have to make it worth their while. You don't want to waste their time. And at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, you have to know what you're looking for from this investment, what type of return on that investment you're looking for.
Right.
Yeah.
Now he's saying there are properties that he owns and rents.
Okay.
So the fact that you rent them and they're not Airbnbs, it you don't for Airbnbs you need a bigger team involved,
Yeah.
and they need to be there because that turnover is clicking.
Right.
Okay. If they're just regular rentals, I would say exactly what I said earlier, because I was thinking they're regular rentals, and that's the advice that I was given
Sure.
was for regular rentals. So, what about you?
So if they're all regular rentals, again, it really depends on.
Mm-hmm.
So early on, I used to do a lot of wholesaling and a lot of flipping houses. That's
Mm-hmm.
active income.
Yeah.
And like I said, because of COVID, I realized that I was lacking cash flow. So I would make good
Mm-hmm.
money, but I'd have to flip a house in order to make another payday, flip a house. And
Yep.
so what I've learned now is cash flow is king, right? Cash flow is king,
Cash flow is king, buddy.
right?
That's
So
that's right.
so um when you're cash flowing, after you make cash flow, now you really want to optimize it.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to reduce your liability. So that's why I said, potentially a lease with option might work, because on
Yeah.
a lease with option, you could get a $10,000, $15,000 payday. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you could charge a little bit more in rent per unit because they have an interest in buying the property at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And if you did that and say they didn't end up exercising their option, you can do it all over again and get another payday. And so there's a number of
Yep.
different ways to monetize that asset. It's really gonna come down to what your debt situation is on the property, and which what roles these properties play in your portfolio.
Yeah. 100%. I like the lease option, because it's probably a good 70% of them don't actually exercise their option.
Yeah.
Okay. And those numbers may be skewed. It's just like 80% of all statistics are made up. So,
Yeah.
but it's the truth. It
But
really
and
is,
and and you got a different type of buyer with a lease option.
Yeah.
You have a tenant buyer, and the benefit of that is they're more likely to do and take care of the minor repairs, and you can make
Yep.
that a structure in the contract. Now, you
Mm-hmm.
definitely want to check your states, because there are some states where lease options are frowned upon. Like I
Mm-hmm.
believe Texas is one of them.
Okay.
However, if it's not a regulated structure or strategy, then you just want to understand the pros and cons of it. And at that point, you just make the offer, and you just do your due diligence on your tenant buyer. And like I said, you can make a
Yeah.
little bit more. or
and
convert
there's
it to
something else, and
Airbnb.
there's something else. It's like a sale option or something. I can't remember the exact name of it. That is very similar to a lease option. That if they don't allow lease options, you can go this way.
It's
So
maybe a contract for deed.
yeah,
Yep.
contract for deed,
Yep.
or deed of lieu, or
Right.
no, not deed of lieu, but yeah,
Yeah.
contract for deed. So,
Yeah, and that's
um,
that's similar to contract for deed is very much similar to subject to almost. I mean,
yep,
it kind of it works a
yeah,
little bit the same, but again, my point is there's a lot of different ways to skin the cat for sure,
yep,
and it's always
yep,
going to come back to what type of return are you looking for these assets?
yeah,
How do you maximize the assets? I'll give you this too. If you're thinking about the short-term rental space,
hmm,
you might want to find someone you can co-host with.
yeah,
And so the benefit of that is, by doing that type of collaboration on your units, they're going to manage the day to day with,
hmm,
hosting the property. You'll be able to get a little bit more than market rate on the rents,
hmm,
and you won't have a long term tenant, so you'll benefit from the property being cleaned more often and frequent, and
yep,
and you'll be able to fluctuate with the market as rents continue to rise. And typically, you could, well, if you're doing a co-host, depending on how you structure the agreement, you might do some profit sharing on either side of that. So
hmm.
there's a number of different ways to go about it.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
So with that, again, anybody else has any questions, by all means, put them in the chat. We'll answer them here live and go from there. Now, um, where are you located at currently? And are you doing deals in your own town, or only all, virtual?
So I'm in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
Well, so yes, I do deals in Providence. I'm looking at a few deals now. I actually just got a text message on a 4 unit locally in Pawtucket. So I'm gonna go check that out on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I coach and mentor, a lot of my deals come from my students. I do a lot of joint ventures with my students, and so I'm walking them through their first deal. And so
Mm-hmm.
the way that tends to work is, wherever they are, depending on the level of our relationship, I'll fly out, help them get going, and then when they
Mm-hmm.
have a deal, I'll help them source the money because I have a lot of relationships, and I also have my own real estate investment fund, and so I'm
Right.
actively raising capital with accredited investors. So, if you're
Okay.
accredited, definitely reach out. Um, and beyond that, uh, I do a little bandit signs locally.
Mm-hmm.
I do some. I'm getting more into the social media stuff. You
Okay.
know, Instagram, that type of thing. You know,
Yeah, I'm trying to build my social media presence. I'm trying to build, YouTube. We're coming from 30 subscribers,
sure.
but the main reason we're doing this live is for my Facebook group, Metro Detroit Off Market Real Estate Group.
Yep.
Shout out to everybody who's watching on there. And I I'm doing this to add value to this group, to everybody, all the wholesalers, the investors, anybody who just has questions about real estate. We do this every Monday at 8 p.m. Okay. And I bring different people like Gerald over here on here to bring a different perspective, not just my opinion, you know. So because I've only been doing this for about 2 years, and I'm not the most experienced person. So I like to get different perspectives on this,
Absolutely.
So with that, you said you have students. Now, I'm assuming you have a class. Obviously comes students. There comes
Yeah.
an education program. things like that. Tell us a little bit about your I do this to add value for free, and
Yep.
in return for me, people in my group, they reach out to me to do joint ventures. If they
Sure.
don't reach out to me, hey, maybe people reach out to each other in the group. That's perfectly fine with me.
Sure.
So tell me a little bit about your.
Yeah. So I just went ahead and created a course, right?
Okay.
Um, and the name of my course is the Birddog Bootstrap Blueprint,
Okay.
because I have a company called Birddog Factory, and the whole premise of that was when I started mentoring people. Um, uh, Bird dogging is where you start. Like to be a bird dog, you just need drive. You don't need money.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need credit. You don't need experience. You just need to be willing to get up and go talk to people about real estate. You're looking for who wants to buy a house, who wants to sell a house, who's behind on their mortgage, who's in real estate, whether they're a contractor, agent, attorney,
Mm-hmm.
CPA, and who's interested in making a double digit rate of return on their money secured by discounted real estate.
Right.
That's really the process. And then you're just adding to your contact list. You're building out your sellers list, your buyers list, and your resource list. That's the
Mm-hmm.
strategies that I'm teaching you. And it's very effective. When you actually engage in people with that conversation, you'll be surprised how many people right now are on some level. Maybe they just filed for divorce or had a
Mm-hmm.
bankruptcy or whatever. Maybe they were impacted by COVID, you know,
Right.
and so at the end of the day, with Bird Dog Education, because I'm a financial advisor as well, a wealth
Okay.
coach,
Yep.
and so like I can go deep, um,
Okay.
and so with my course, we start off with your budget, help you understand your financials, because to build a business, you need to know your income and your expenses. You need to set some targets, that type of thing.
Yep.
I go on to debt management, how to effectively pay off bad debt, and
Mm-hmm.
and how to think about debt moving forward and establish only good debt, or I
Yep.
call it my debt positive strategies. And with that, you're only accumulating debt to increase your cash flow or your equity positions. Otherwise,
100%.
you don't use debt.
Right.
And then from there, it's my who do you know script. That's
Mm-hmm.
basically looking at who you might know that could be a resource for you,
Mm-hmm.
that you can joint venture, collaborate, learn from.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has that uncle that owns a couple of properties, or that neighbor or something. Like I'm telling
Right.
you,
Right. Right.
you're a deal away. And beyond that, I have some free resources that I've come across along the way.
Mm-hmm.
I help you tap into local real estate groups or meetups now.
Mm-hmm.
And I work on your mindset. I help you be an investor. Your posture is correct. You're more
Yep.
confident because you start to understand the language. And then I have some effective strategies about how to work with realtors.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the first things I'll have you do is have a real estate agent send you some listings, and then you
Mm-hmm.
start going through the listings and running the numbers, practicing running the numbers, practicing looking up comps,
Yeah.
practicing running the numbers to make offers,
Yep.
and then I go through the psychology of making offers, how to present an offer, that type of
Yep.
thing. And all of this stuff that I'm telling you, I only charge $97 for it. The reason why, like I'm a guy that spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on my education after college.
Mm-hmm.
I spent over $150,000 last year, between Cardone, multifamily mindset, and
Mm-hmm.
investment fund secrets. And in traveling across the country, it's that's a huge investment, but it's worth it. It's tax deductible when you're operating
Mm-hmm.
a business, right? And if
Yep.
you're going to be making money, you need to offset some of those capital gains with reasonable expenses. So I get into tax strategy as well.
Okay.
So like for
Yeah.
what you get, I really should charge a lot more. But for me,
Yeah.
I do it because of what real estate meant for me getting started. you know?
And yeah, and I've heard this before that if somebody is just getting something for free, the amount of so the more likely that what they're not going to put it to use.
Yes.
95% of the people, if they're going to get it for free, they're not going to put it to use, and what they're going to do is they're okay. I just look at it later, you know.
Yeah.
So if they
Or,
paying for it, even just a little bit, you know, they're going to pay more attention. They're going to put it more. They're going to put it to use. There's a
well,
better chance that they will.
I've already started coaching and mentoring, man. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like for me, the reason why I started charging is because the first hurdle that you need to get over is the money mindset.
Yep.
If you can't make sense of $97
Yep.
or $997, you know, or $5,000 or
Yep.
$10,000 to put yourself in position to earn six figures this year, then
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be able to make any moves. You know, I've had students that were homeless, living out of their car, and within 4 months, we secured two different properties and raised over $100,000. And it
Right.
wasn't me doing it; it was them just following instructions,
Mm-hmm.
and they, you know, they had that burning desire. And
Yep. One hundred
so
percent.
for me, um, I'm a very generous person, you know, especially with my time. And I love this. I love what I do.
Mm-hmm.
I love what real estate makes available for people because
Yep.
believe it or not, the real estate is not what people are interested in. They're interested
Mm-hmm.
in what the income from that real estate can provide for them in terms of time freedom.
Yep.
And so the other thing you get with my course is a one-on-one strategy session. Now I charge $10,000 an hour,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I don't charge that to people because they can't make sense of that type of investment.
Okay.
And I don't just want to work with the people that can make sense of that type of investment.
Yeah.
And so what I did was with my Bootstrap Blueprint course, you know, I offer a free strategy session. And basically I look at your goals, I look at your situation, and I give you a blueprint of based on your goals, this is how you leverage real estate to
Mm-hmm.
get there, you know. And
Yep.
then the other thing that I just launched was because of my background and because of what I see coming down the pipe, becoming a HUD certified housing counselor is going to be crucial.
Yeah.
There's not enough of them out there. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
real estate professionals don't know that this designation exists, and you can go to the HUD website and get, you know, take the test and do that. What I'm charging you is for I'm facilitating a study group so that, you know, you get walked through the process.
Yep.
But then I'm also showing you how to monetize that distinction. And so
Yeah.
what it looks like is, say you're a real estate agent, and yeah, say that you're a licensed realtor, right? Now
Mm-hmm.
you're a HUD certified housing counselor in addition to a licensed realtor. Why is that
Yeah.
important? There's over $40 million allocated to housing counseling through various nonprofits. And so
Mm-hmm.
now you can create relationships with these nonprofits, facilitate
Yep.
those counseling sessions, and build your brand. You know, you can start doing outreach in your community, educating people in your community, build your brand. And then before
Yep.
you know it, now people are calling you because you're the real estate person in their community. So when they want to buy a house, when they want to sell a house, when they have a
Mm-hmm.
housing problem, they're going to contact you. And
Yep.
so I just bundled those two products together for 195. So if you go to Birddog Education, you'll get that 195. And with the Foreclosure Profit Blueprint,
Mm-hmm.
we have 4 group coaching calls with that because I go more deep in depth with
Gotcha.
understanding that.
So I put it in the comments here, Bird
Yeah,
Dog Bootstrap Blueprint. I put in the comments down here at the bottom. Uh, it's there, but we also have it in the description below.
yeah,
So if you're on YouTube, it's in the description. If you're on Facebook, it should be in the description. But just in case it's not, I put it in the comments, so you can always look at the comments.
Yeah.
So anybody who's interested, definitely. I haven't been through his process because I didn't know him before today.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm gonna give you
So
that. I'm gonna give you access to that, Randy, because I appreciate you doing this.
I appreciate it.
And then the other thing, I do have a bigger ticket product. It's 19 grand, 20
Okay.
grand. With that, I really do a whole makeover. Like we're talking estate planning strategies.
Gotcha.
We're talking me flying
That
out, helping
that's
you build
something.
your team.
Yeah.
Put
So that's somebody like with a portfolio of
not
properties
even,
or a portfolio of whatever they have. Okay.
not even, man.
Okay.
Like in order, so there's a wealth gap, right? The reason why the wealth gap exists is
Mm-hmm.
because when we pass away, um, probate happens and it takes away
Yep.
from our assets. And
Yep.
so if you're going to work and accumulate assets, then you need to protect them properly. Now, I'm not an attorney or an accountant, so I always say, check with your attorneys and accountants with the information you're getting from us, right? But I do meet with my attorney and my accountant,
Mm-hmm.
Mark J. Kohler. Check him out on
Okay.
YouTube. Great information, and that's the foundation of building wealth. When you
Mm-hmm.
operate in that capacity, the thing about money is you earn it, you keep it, and then you multiply it. Most of us
100%.
barely know how to earn it.
Yeah.
Most of us have a job, and that's how we make most of our money. And then we buy things because we have an abundance of money, and those things have some type of value. But then,
Mm-hmm.
we'll protect that with a will, which doesn't
Yep.
protect it,
Right.
you know, or we'll get an LLC and think we're in business,
Mm-hmm.
and so understanding how these things work in conjunction with building wealth, a lot of you are a few tweaks away from, adding some zeros to your net worth. you
Mm-hmm.
know if you're not, everyone listening to this video, your financial goal should be to become an accredited investor.
Okay.
If you don't know what an accredited investor is, it's a person that makes at least $200,000 a year, 2 years consecutively, or 300,000 for married couples, and they expect to do the same, right? Or you
Mm-hmm.
have $1 million net worth, not including your personal home. So when Grant talks about not buying a personal home, it's not because he doesn't believe in buying a personal home, even though he doesn't believe in buying a personal
Mm-hmm.
home, right? As an investment. It's not an investment.
Right.
It's a place to live, you
Yeah.
know? And so if it's not counted towards your overall net worth,
Yep.
I mean, it is, but as an accredited investor, it's not counted. The reason
No.
why that distinction is important is because there's a series of investments that are exclusively offered to this class of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the biggest lessons that I learned in pursuing my apartment complex. That asset class is reserved for, middle and higher income earners. You know,
Gotcha.
and most people don't ever get access to that type of investment. But then Grant, he did what's called an A class raise,
Mm-hmm.
where he allowed individuals like you and me to invest
Mm-hmm.
with him, at least with as little as $1,000. But most people didn't understand what he was doing with that. They looked at it like, oh, I can make more money on that $1,000, in
Mm-hmm.
other types of investments, not understanding that he was giving you access to see behind the curtain, but we're not exposed to this information. And so, I appreciate you letting me use your platform to share this, because
Yeah.
that's
No
that's my
problem.
purpose. My
Yeah.
purpose is to help people build wealth. That's why I make it accessible. If you can't make
Mm-hmm.
sense of $195 or $97, then that's your homework for today,
Yeah.
right? If you're gonna
Yep.
check this YouTube, like if you're not checking, if you don't join Randy's group after this, Like if you come across this video right on YouTube and you don't join Randy's group after this, I don't care where you live in America, right? You're missing the mark. The mindset's not right. You're missing the opportunity. You're stepping over money. You know, if you don't make sense of the $97 purchase or the $195 purchase, you're missing it. If you like take this video and then you try to go look at other videos to figure it out for yourself, you're missing it. I take courses now that I actually know I do the stuff.
Yeah.
I'm about to pay Pace Mobley, right? I'm joining his mastermind group.
Pace Morby?
Yes.
Oh wow, yeah. No, I love his. I'm jealous because I want to get in his mastermind. I have a few things that I have to take care of before I can do that. But yeah, so this so Larry, who asked the questions before, he said, "Where can I get that Cash Flow King shirt?" Right there.
Okay, that's Cardone Capital, man. Cardone. I would go to grantcardone.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a flash shirt, man.
Yeah.
I love that hoodie. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you're signing up for Pace Morby's
his mastermind group is coaching. Yep. Yeah, and the thing about it is I know how to do subject twos. You know, I just had a student in Tennessee. It was a mother-daughter couple. And I helped them execute a subject to their first flip. They got the deal driving for dollars. The first thing we did was I talked them through how to get a forbearance on the foreclosure because it was a pre-foreclosure. So they got an authorization to talk to the bank. They stopped the foreclosure with a phone call, walked them through that. Then they put the property, they gained access with the lease option. They put up $500. They got a lease and the keys. And the lady was a hoarder. So with the lease and the keys, they started cleaning everything out. Then I put them in touch with a colleague of mine that does land trusts. And we structured the subject too. We put the house in trust and we made them trustee and their LLC beneficiary. And that satisfied all the requirements there. And then I helped her get a home equity line of credit to fund the rehab. We didn't have any mortgage payments because of the forbearance. So she just funded the rehab. And within 9 months, they netted over $160,000 on their first flip.
That's awesome.
And I did that from Rhode Island. They're in Tennessee.
Yeah. So with that, so the last person that we had on here, which was Carson Whaley. Okay. He's actually in subject 2 as well.
Okay.
So, and he joined not too long ago. But I consume, I don't want to say too much because it's never too much of Pace Morby's content. Anything he puts out, because I still work a day job and I probably consume most of his content during the day while I'm at work. So, but yeah, most definitely it's to get into it just for the community, the networking.
That's it. That's what you pay for.
Yeah.
How many times does a person have to hear your network will determine your net worth before you start investing time in expanding your network?
And that's where everybody needs to hear, because it comes down to the 5 people that you spend the most amount of time with, you average their income, and that's going to come within 10% of what you're going to make. Okay. I have friends that I grew up with, and I have people here that I grew up with, and I'm, no shame or anything to them, but it's why I'm too busy to hang out with people, to go to the bar, to go to the, I'm just too busy to do all that. Now you want to network with me and we want to do some deals.
That's
I'll be
different.
right there.
Yeah,
That's money talking,
yeah,
you know. So, and that's where I network and talk with people and things like that. So, there's only one person in this world that will get me to do anything non-money related, and that's my wife.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, but by all means, I, we're going on, an hour and 25 minutes here. I
Sure.
really appreciate it. Um, I'm happy to have you come on such short notice. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Anybody who's out there, reach out to him, take a look at it, at his thing. If it's something you want, great. Join his group, if it's not, that's okay. At least take a look and begin your education wherever that may take you. Okay.
Yeah.
Whether that be with him, whether that be with me, whether that would be both of us, whether it be with other, how many mentorships that Gerald has been in, it just never stops, but you gain, as long as you gain one thing that makes you money, everything's worth it, because it puts you in that circle, doing the Grant Cardone mentorship puts you in his circle and puts you in front of his underwriters and things like that. Without paying for
It's
that, like,
exposure.
you can't do it. It's
Yeah.
exposure, correct? I haven't done not one mentorship. Now, am I saying that that's the right way to go? Hell no.
No, it's a
Know,
mindset, man.
yeah,
The first one, it took some time to kind of break into that because I
yep,
was always in a position where I was in the middle of a deal. I never really had all the money put together,
yep,
but about 2004, I just was hitting a ceiling. And
yeah,
I ran into a colleague of mine that worked for Fortune Builders.
hmm,
And he was like, Gerald, like, I'm glad to see you, bro, but you need to invest in the next level of coaching. And
hmm,
and I decided to be coachable in that moment. And I asked the question, well, why do you say that?
yeah,
And he said, well, you've exhausted everything that you can do at this point.
yep,
There's levels to this.
yeah,
There's different break points in building wealth. And you know, at this break point, certain things are required. At the next one, certain things are required.
yep,
And the reason why I have my different price points is because people are coming to me at different break points. Like I
hmm,
have I have a lady that I spoke with today. She's a colleague of mine. She owns a whole portfolio of real estate, and we had a
hmm.
conversation, and I had to tell her that you're a multimillionaire. And she owns this. She knows how much she paid for the property. She owns it,
Yep.
but it never occurred.
It just doesn't click, you
Yeah.
know, because trust me, I get it, because I come from, we were lower, I like to call it lower middle class,
Yep.
not poor,
Right.
but lower middle
Right.
class. Okay. There was times in my childhood we were poor.
Right.
We were getting government assistance. We were doing all that.
Sure.
We ended up getting up to lower middle class. Okay. And, you realize that at that moment, like, I got to hustle. I got to do, in order for me to do anything, I got to hustle, you know, and I learned that at a very young age, where I would go out and mow lawns. I was 8 years old going out mowing lawns. My parents told me, "Oh, we can't afford that extra T-shirt, extra
Right. Right.
shoes, extra this, extra that." My dad told me, he's like, "We're only required to put the roof over your head and 3 square meals a day."
That's my dad too.
And I go, anything outside of that, you got a lawnmower, you got a rake, you got a shovel, depending on the time of the year, go out and make it. And that's what I did,
My
you
first
know.
mentor, one of my first mentors, was actually the guy that did our lawn. And I walked out one day. He was there, and I said, his name was John. And I said, John, um, if you teach me how to do this job, my parents will still pay you, but when you come, I'll do the work. You just
Yep.
got, I just want you to teach me. And so he started doing it. He's like, all right, we'll grab the mower. And so he did that. And then, and mind you, I'm about 10 years old. And then he started saying, hey, Gerald, I got some other lines. You want to come with me and I'll pay you? And I'm like, yeah. So I would come, he'd pick me up, we'd go do some lines or whatever. And then when I got 15, my mother bought me a truck and my own
Mhm.
lawnmower and weed whacker and stuff. And that's pretty much how I made money and maintained my vehicle until I went off to college, you know. But it
Yeah.
was it was the hustle.
Yep.
And I wish I had a read Rich Dad Poor Dad back then,
Hmm.
because, or even better yet, the cash flow quadrants, because I always thought I was a business owner and I was really self-employed,
Hmm.
you know. And I share that story because it's a lot of people out here that's hustling, that's not running a business thinking they're running a business, and they're really
Yep.
self-employed. And you really need to make that pivot,
One
because when
hundred
you
percent.
do, it's going to add a couple of digits to your income and your net worth. You know,
Yep.
you lack leverage in your business model. And that's one of the biggest things that I'm learning from Grant and his team at Cardone Ventures, is how to create and grow and scale a business,
Yeah.
you know. And I'll leave you with this. The biggest breakthrough that I had when I bought my apartment building
Hmm.
is the dynamics in the operating agreement.
Okay.
I've had LLCs as long as I've been investing in real estate. I've never ever distinguished different classes of shares of ownership in that entity.
Hmm.
I've never understood that that was even a possibility. I never
Hmm.
understood like that. Being introduced to corporate structures in that way
Hmm.
was mind blowing for me. And then at the same time, I'm in the mastermind group of fund managers, and I'm really understanding how to raise capital at a high level. And now I'm really starting to see what it means to be in business, what it means to
Hmm.
take a company public, what it means to like, and it's a game changer.
Yeah.
And the difference between the rich, the poor, and the middle class is simply cash flow and mindset.
Yep.
In America,
Because
you can
yeah.
start off from zero and in 90 days be a multimillionaire, or at least
Hmm.
build a business worth multis of millions. And how
One
I
hundred.
know, I've seen
Yeah.
people do it.
100%. I 100% agree with you on that. So, my brother was is on here from YouTube, and he was making a comment, say, "What are you talking about? Dad gave me everything I wanted." And yeah, so he wants to play funny. It's all right. That's why he's the way he is, and that's the way I am. So
Hmm.
he's 2 years younger than me.
Oh yeah, that's
So
how I be, man. I'm the oldest, and
yeah,
my little brother, he wants to. He called me about a car wash, and he lives in Texas, so I just flew
yep,
up there to check it out. And the funny thing is, I can actually get the car wash for him. Like, I know how to structure the deal,
yeah,
but I'm coaching him through the business part now,
yeah. You
because
have
real
to.
estate is not just buying a property. It's, you have to have an acquisition plan, and then you have to have a management
Yeah.
plan. How are you going to cash flow this deal? What's the exit?
Yep.
So, no,
So
I
I'm
appreciate the
at,
time, man, the opportunity,
yeah,
Randy.
no problem, man, no problem. So everybody out there, anybody out there, hit us up. Gerald, real quick, how do we get a hold of you if anybody wants to talk with you, discuss any new
Sure.
deals, anything like that? What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Uh, at Birddog Education, you can just fill out a form and forward your information and leave a comment, or you can go to therealestateg.com, and you can get my email and my phone number and stuff like that.
All right,
Yeah.
awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Much love to you. And so what I'm going to do is, you stay here. I'm going to end the broadcast, and we can chit chat a little bit about a few things
Absolutely.
afterwards. So,
Yeah. Let's make some money.
Yeah, most definitely. Mike, my brother, I know you're just playing. I get you. No problem. So, anyways, you guys have a good one. Stay safe out there and let's keep doing deals together.